Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of 13 Rings Podcast. I'm your host Lucas with Earl and Maurice, and Chris is filling in yet again for Mouse. He's Giants' dad podcast host, and he's coming in yet again to grace us with his presence because Mal's feeling a little bit under the weather. We were going to have both of them on tonight to just to get a different gauge, see how Giants fans feel about, because I don't know if they all line up, but that's okay. Because, Chris, we'll definitely have you back on when Mal's on again. But in the meantime, we have you on tonight. And it is so good to have you back on, especially after this interdivision matchup. But before we get into that, let me go ahead and go over week 16. Guys, we're in week 16 already. Week 16 predictions, okay?
Yeah, time is flying.
So, week 16. Only one person had the Commanders winning this game. And before you say it, no, it was not me.
Ooh. Was it me?
Nah, it wasn't you.
Was it me?
Nah, it was Mal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting, right?
She had some faith in you guys.
She did.
Yeah,
I appreciate
she didn't
it.
like the Jets.
She had us going. Me and her had the
Jets.
best record for us, which was 8-9 on the season. 9-8.
Oh.
So, yeah. Actually, if anything, Earl's prediction will probably be the closest because he had us going 6-11. That was nice of you, Earl. Anyway, for the Giants,
Lucky I ain't go three wins.
So we all had the Eagles winning, all had the Giants losing. Though I don't think we anticipated it being that much of an interesting matchup. And then Dallas, me and Earl had them losing, and Mal and Maurice had them winning.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So that being said, Chris, how about you and Maurice talk it up about this whole entire Eagles-Giants matchup?
Well, I'll start out by saying it still looks like Jalen Hurts is still that $60 million problem.
Coming out with the shots.
With as I've said previously on the previous couple of posts, the previous podcasts and episodes, you can still see the difference in the trenches. Like, Philly ran all over us. They had 170-something rushing yards. When they were blocking, it was like the deep blue sea was opening up when Jesus put down his staff. Like, it was just bad.
Hey.
But as far as just kind of the game as a whole, it was very interesting to see the quarterback switch at halftime. And as the game went along, it's apparent that the Giants need an upgrade at quarterback. Just because with Tyrod and DeVito, there was the 4th and 1 with Waller where that ball wasn't delivered properly. There was a lot of bad balls. And the thing with Tyrod, when he throws the ball, he doesn't throw the ball with a lot of velocity. He has a pretty ball, but it's not with any umph in it. So it was very encouraging seeing how Tyrod came to the game. He had that one shot to Slayton, which was great. There were opportunities and shots on the field to be had. Just didn't execute all the way. And if you could have had the second half play out in the first half and then had that game continue, I think that the Giants have more of a shot. Like, it was interesting to kind of see how bad. Philly.
So hang on. Are you saying that if Tyrod Taylor started the whole game, you guys think that you would have won?
I really think they have a good probability to win the football game if Tyrod.
Ooh.
I wouldn't say win, but I would say that they had the momentum for a minute there in the third quarter. They had a lot of momentum.
And look, and by the way, Tyrod is going to be starting next week too. I'm going to go ahead and say that now, not to steal your thunder, but yeah,
it gets me excited for our Week 17 matchup against Philly because we play them in 2 weeks. So we'll see what Tyrod can do Week 17. We'll see how we match up against them, and hopefully we can bump them down in the rankings when it comes to the NFC playoff race. That would be a great present. Going out strong to go into 2024. Just kind of looking at the game.
So what was good and what was bad?
We didn't tackle well this game, unfortunately. Mike McFadden had another bad game tackling. Bobby O played well. And again, it's just like the depth within the trenches of defensive line play and being able to stop the run. We don't have enough bodies in order to keep up and play 4 quarters with Philly. So it got to a point where you got to play perfect football along with have the turnovers, which we were able to get that one interception for a touchdown. But if you don't play perfect football against these guys with how we're kind of at a disadvantage from a roster standpoint, it's going to be hard to win a football game against them because they straight up have more talent roster right now as we stand. I think they could have did a little bit better job from a play calling standpoint. I didn't like some of the 4th and 1 calls. That up the gut to Barkley was a little silly to me in the second quarter, and like just with the Waller drops, like you got to get these guys in better positions. Like when we saw Waller in Oakland when he was one of the best tight ends in football, everything they threw to him was up the seam. That's where he was at his best. And unfortunately, because the Giants have to keep him in the block, he can't be in the seam or run those different types of routes where he can get vertical and be more of a pressure on somebody's defense. So it's just I'm happy about the performance of how the team performed compared to what we were at the time, but it's just we got to build on it. I feel like the Boston Scott curse was lifted with that fumble, and he didn't completely go off against us, so that felt good. But we're slowly closing the gap as far as getting better. I think just gotta beat them.
I did like the quarterback switch at halftime because that told me, okay, they want to win this game, and they're not going to let Tommy DeVito just be mid. And he only had 55 yards passing.
I was about to say I don't even think he was mid in this game. I think he was
question for
low.
you guys.
I'm sorry.
Concerned.
Yeah.
My question for you guys is: it more that the Giants improved, or Philly has regressed? Why this game was closer than what it was?
Well, I think I can answer. Let me answer that.
I got you.
Yeah, let me answer that. But first, let me just recap my side before I answer that. I got you, Chris. On the Eagles side, I think Jalen Hurts had a really good comeback game. Last game, I said he was bad. One of his worst games last week, and he came back, passed for 301, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It sucks that interception was for a pick six because Goddard slipped on the field, and it was a pick six to Adoree Jackson. But I mean, that's football; it happens. But overall, I think he made great throws. One thing about Jalen Hurts, I think he needs to work on, and probably after the season, during the offseason, is he needs to work on reading defenses pre-snap. There was a lot of times where Wink Martindale would just blitz him. I think he blitzed him 3 times in a row, and he didn't see it coming. So that's definitely something that he needs to work on. Just that pre-snap adjustments and calling hot routes or just calling an audible. But besides that, I think Jalen Hurts had a really good game. I also think, and Chris mentioned it, DeAndre Swift had a really nice game. He should have had more yards, actually. And because of the tush push, brotherly shove, he gets shorted on his touchdowns, which for fantasy owners, they will agree with me. But he rushed for 20 yards. He got 20 rushes for 92 yards and 1 touchdown. That end of the third, fourth quarter, he really started to take over when, if anybody watched the game, the fans were yelling, "Run the ball." Only in Philadelphia that something like that would happen when they would just chant, "Run the ball." And they did. And that pretty much salted the game away in the fourth quarter because that offensive line was giving Swift some holes. He was getting a lot of holes. So Swift had a good game. AJ had a good game. Devontae had a really nice touchdown, 36-yard touchdown catch. So overall, on my end, the game, they produced and they won the game. But to go back to Chris's question, was it the Giants team that was that played up to the competition, or did the Eagles play down to the competition? I will answer that by saying they had one calamity fumble. It was funny the way it happened on that kickoff to start the third quarter, which Zacchaeus shouldn't have been in the spot. It was a fumble, and that pretty much gave him 7 points. And the Jalen Hurts pick 6 with 7 points. So to answer your question, I do think that the Eagles played down a little bit to the competition. There's still a lot of things this team needs to work on going forward. If they would have played a top tier team, they would have probably lost this game, to be completely honest. But for right now, they played the Giants. They need to work on a lot of things. And like I said last week, a lot of it is coaching. Some of it is player production. But a lot of it is the coaches putting the players in the right positions to be successful. And we're seeing that. But with that said, I think the Eagles played down to the competition more so than the Giants played up. But I still like the fight. I like the fight the Giants had, though.
So I'll say this to answer Chris's question. Chris, I think it's pretty obvious that the Eagles are not at the same level that they were last year. You lose the coordinators, you lost most of your defense. Like they're not. So I don't know if you guys got any better. I think that you guys just decide to show up for divisional games, not against teams called the Cowboys. But in terms of I think it's a natural regression from the Eagles, and I can't. And no offense, Maurice, I can't have them in the top tier, contenders category in my head. I don't think I can have them there.
It's fair. That's fair.
I think right now, if I'm looking at contenders, it's the Ravens and the 49ers and mate. Yeah.
Well, to keep it to the NFC, I think it's 49ers, Cowboys, then the Eagles. But you can't count out the Lions too.
The Lions, we'll see that next week.
Yeah,
we'll see that next week, this Saturday. But yeah, no, I think that's my perspective of it, Chris.
What about the Rams?
They remind me, they're the NFC version of the Browns. Like they're getting hot at the right time, and they have I think they have a better offense than the Browns, but Browns have the better defense. But I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them made a deep run.
I think the Browns will have a deeper run.
I think so too. It's either them
in
or
that
the
conference.
Bills.
Yeah.
I guess the other question I have for Maurice: how do you feel about the officiating throughout the entire game? Because in my opinion, there was a lot of questionable calls.
Yeah, and that goes. It goes. Not only does that go both ways. I think I've noticed watching on the football games, this has been a really bad year for officiating.
It really has.
Agreed.
It's all around the league.
And we remember. You remember Sunday night. Monday night, the referee tripped Lamar Jackson in the end zone, which was hilarious.
That was funny. Yeah.
No. But to answer your question, Chris, the plays, the calls go both ways, and earlier this season,
like whether it's the John Michael Schmidt false start versus Jalen Carter jumping, the guy call on Wan'Dale Robinson, I forgot who was covering him. I think it was Bradbury or maybe a safety.
Yeah, and it goes both ways too, because I think Jason Kelce got called for a false start. He didn't even move.
No, he moved the ball.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think he moved the ball.
He moved the ball. He even admitted it on his own podcast, dude.
No. That was last week. We're talking about the Giants game. That was last week. Yeah, that was last week's game. This game, I don't think he even moved. And then it was another false start on your guys' center, right?
They called it on John Michael Schmidt when it was 4th and 5 or 4, and Jalen Carter jumped off sides, but they called it the false start on the center, and he didn't move at all. They played it back. That's terrible.
Yeah, and then the 3 points at the end of the half too, where your player just thought that he fumbled the ball, but they called him for a delayed game, which Jalen Hurts made a mistake because he should have went out of bounds. But that gave us 3 points. I mean, the officiating, it goes every way. I mean, sometimes you get a break with it.
It's just sad to see it be so bad at so many turns and points in the game.
You know,
Where it's like,
it gives fuel to the narrative of the NFL's rigged, which I don't believe it is, but it definitely gives fuel to that narrative to people that believe that. That being said, I think we should go ahead and move on to Earl's game.
Well, wait, before we do that, who was your player of the game, Chris?
I'll give it to Tyrod Taylor. He came in and was able to give us a spark.
You want to give it to Adoree?
Ooh, that's a good one. Adoree Jackson
Offensive
or
defense. Yeah, I would say Adoree as well.
Okay, you got to choose one. Choose one.
All right, I'll give it to Adoree.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, that was a game. It changed the game, the momentum of the game for sure. And for me, Jalen Hurts was the player of the game. I think that throw to AJ Brown really it stopped their momentum, and it really put us in position to win the game.
The 3rd and 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very disappointed.
It was very fast
when Wing didn't blitz. Like Jalen Hurts doesn't do well with the blitz, and he can't identify it. I don't understand why we didn't blitz you guys all day long. It didn't make sense.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and get to the Cowboys game.
Mm-hmm.
The Dallas Cowboys played the Miami Dolphins. We lost 22-20. It was a close game. One thing that I thought in the game was just to see if Dallas defense will respond. And they played solid in this game. I really had a chance to see what their rebound game was, and this one was definitely one of those games. The situation I have with the defense is that they're really light in the middle, especially at the linebacker position. I really wanted Dallas to set the tone, especially with the edges, and Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence did that. They played like men possessed in this game, and I was really happy to see how that progression was for them to set the edge, especially with Miami having a run game where they like to run to the outside. Mostert, Achane, Wilson, they really didn't have like big game, and we kind of sustained that offense. Normally when they're at home, they average around 38 points a game. This time around, we held them to 22. What went wrong in this game? Mike McCarthy was coaching scared a bit in the game. I noticed that CeeDee Lamb was smoking him in the first quarter, and then he didn't get any touches around the second and third quarter. And I just couldn't understand why you weren't giving CeeDee Lamb the hot hand, because he was on pace for 200-plus yards, and they just hindered him from that. And I think I have a legit reason for that. The left tackle troubles. Tyron Smith, I know he's on the last of his engine when it comes to handling that left tackle spot, but Chuma Edoga being in that spot, that did not work out in our favor. And when I was looking at the depth lineup, I noticed that Tyler Smith last season got thrown into the fire to be left tackle while Tyron Smith was out for most of the season before he shifted to a right tackle. And I just kind of felt that Tyler Smith should have been kicked out to left tackle and had Chuma Edoga be the left guard because they're better in that position. But who knows? The next thing was Hunter Lupke fumbling at the goal line. That was definitely a momentum killer because before that, he had the ball, got the first downs on 3rd and 1s. And this time around, all they had to do was secure the ball and then touchdown. But that wasn't the case. I'm not going to punish him for it. I'm going to be like Biggie Smalls and give him one more chance. And let's see here.
Earl, did you really just make a Biggie Smalls reference?
I did.
Wow. Okay. We getting old if we making Biggie Smalls reference, guys.
Hey, it just flowed well.
It flows. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying and I'm not just saying you, because me and you were about the same age. We all getting old if we making Biggie Smalls references now.
It is what it is.
That's what it is. Keep on going.
Will do. Another things that went wrong was that CeeDee Lamb was on pace of passing Michael Irvin's record for most catches in the season. And that just frustrated me because I couldn't understand why he didn't get the touches that he did, and it came to the conclusion. My other reason what went wrong was the front office and their football politics. I'm starting to notice a pattern when it comes to these star receivers for Dallas that shine and then they get limited on their touches. I saw this with Des Bryant. I saw this back with Cole Beasley. And I saw this with Amari Cooper. And for some reason, Stephen Jones, he just gets on my nerves. I understand he's a very intelligent guy, but he uses his stat line to minimize their reps and how many catches they get to try to sustain their money. CeeDee Lamb's about to get paid. And I just got a weird feeling that he's going to manipulate CeeDee Lamb on his touches to minimize the max payment that he was going to get for his upcoming contract. And I also call Stephen Jones a stat nerd because him and Kellen Moore in that situation, they minimized their star targets to throw to non-star receivers, in which I call the no identity offense. Shout out to Jay Tuck for that because he came up with that idea of Kellen Moore's offensive scheme was the no identity offense. So basically, all the front office care about is values, reputation, and clicks. They're looking for that money trophy instead of worrying about getting a Super Bowl trophy. And it seems like the transition has changed. And until they're able to figure it out, I honestly believe Dallas won't be making it to a championship game nor a Super Bowl. I could be wrong, but at the same time, I think they have a chance to do it, but they're going to have to do it in spite of the front office.
Wait,
Or are you done?
I was going to what went right.
Yeah, I didn't want to cut Earl off, but I just wanted to ask him because that was an interesting take you had. So you really think they're not giving CD the most opportunities and they're not calling plays for him because you think they want to lower his value so they don't have to pay him as much when he's eligible for
but that would mean that Dak would have to be on it too, right?
No, I think most of the guys who are up for upcoming contracts is going to have to deal with it. Y'all probably didn't find out about this. I won't be too long on this, but Dallas released Rashaan Evans today, and the situation.
I did not know that.
The situation with that was on illegal green charges, and if you know what I mean by that, the grass.
Okay.
But that didn't really get announced till later, so I'm trying to figure out what is going on. But how they did that, it was more of they protect their guys, and Rashaan Evans wasn't one of their guys. And what I mean by that is that Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones, they cater to guys in-house with this whole motto, we like our guys, but at the same time it's not getting them to where they need to, and they like being cheapskates when it comes to devaluing people of their money. And that's what ticks me off because I think that they have top talent, but they don't want to pay them the top dollar for it. So they're going to weasel their way to manipulate their balance. Mike is coming up on a contract. He's playing DN. He's looking for DN money. But with them releasing Rashaan Evans, they're thin at linebacker. So that means at some point, if Damone Clark or Marquise Bell goes down, Micah is the emergency linebacker. And if he's playing linebacker, he's going to end up getting the linebacker money instead of the DN money.
So on that note, you said prior to Maurice answering your question, you do not believe that they will win a Super Bowl as long as they keep this mindset in place. You said you could be wrong, but with that in mind, and you said earlier that this season would be a failure at least if they don't at least reach the NFC Championship game. So, do you think they still reach that game with your new statement here?
It's kind of hard to see right now because you got rid of a veteran linebacker who can help strengthen your defense. He hasn't got touches on the field, and it just seems suspicious. And then they're saying he's not game ready, but how are you supposed to know that if he's not in the game? And for that, they have safeties playing linebacker. And now I ask y'all, if you're a safety at 6 foot, maybe 6'2", 200 pounds, and you got to go up against a lineman that's 330 or 340, that's a bad matchup,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You're getting pancake.
Exactly. Damone Clark did that. He was a laughing stock for it. And for some reason, I think Stephen Jones decided to release Evans because he wanted to protect his guy, the guy that he drafted. And that's going to
Didn't
be
he draft everybody?
mainly Will McClay does that. He looks
Okay.
and scouts these guys. So
Okay.
he's like a, I don't know, like a mini GM role. It's too much to go into.
Okay. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
Continue.
it's just with CeeDee Lamb, he was on pace to get over 200 yards. So that means his money's going to go up. They literally devalue it. That's why he didn't get any touches till the fourth quarter. Because if he would have got it in the second and third quarter, he would have secured a major bank on his price. And it's just a problem. Like when you have receivers like Cole Beasley, is like front office dictates who gets the ball. That's a problem. And I've seen it happen to him, Des Bryant, Amari Cooper, and it looked like it's happening to CeeDee Lamb. Amari spoke on it to Kellen Moore when he was there, and they jumped and traded him for a 5th-round pick, which I thought was stupid. And now with that pick, they drafted Matt Waletzko, who's coming off injured reserve, a lineman that hasn't played a down in the regular season in the past 2 years. And they add him to the 53-man roster after they released Rashaan Evans to give him a roster spot. And you know what it did? They saw Amari Cooper go off crazy this past week, and they were like, yeah, that can't be. He didn't do that with us. They never gave him the opportunity to. So now they're adding Waletzko to the roster, and he's a backup to a backup. Hope that makes sense. He's not going to get any playing time. But I'm going to shift over to what went right. What went right was the offense resiliency. When it seemed like Mike McCarthy was coaching scared towards the end of the game, Dak had to bail Mike McCarthy out to at least get them the lead and hope the defense could make a stop. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Another bright spot that went right, Micah being tone setter with Demarcus Lawrence and Jordan Lewis playing really well at the slot corner. I have to commend the defense. They did what they could to sustain the Miami offense. And Micah Parsons playing linebacker a little bit. He was shedding blockers really good, and he was see hole, hit hole, make them pay. And my player of the game is Micah Parsons. He's definitely earned it. I need to see more of that mentality going into this game against Detroit. He has to be on demon mode because of so much criticism and things with him playing linebacker. I just need him to continue to set that tone because him and DeMarcus Lawrence are the leaders of the defense. And I need them to replicate what they did this game, and other guys need to step up.
So, Earl, I got one question. We all know about the history of the Cowboys not winning outside of Jerry World, but I think a deeper question going forward is if you want to make a run in the playoffs, can you guys win playoff football games with the rushing attack you guys have right now?
With our running game,
Yeah.
I think the biggest mistake that they did was releasing Ezekiel Elliott because they really made Tony Pollard try to make him the guy, even though he's on the franchise tag. He's a part-time guy. He can't take that lead role. And then the running backs you do have, you're not getting them involved. I really haven't seen Deuce Vaughn since the Niners game.
That's your guy.
Yeah. He didn't have a carry in that game.
And they're lacking they're lacking power. They have elusiveness, but there was a touchdown Tony Pollard could have had that all he had to do was bounce it to the outside. Instead, he cut in the inside and it was short. They gave the ball to Hunter Lukey. He got in the end zone, but he didn't secure the ball. That wouldn't have happened if Tony Pollard would have gotten to the end zone. The best way to put it, Tony Pollard, you can soundbite this. Tony Pollard is Luigi. They're missing their Mario.
Ooh. Well, I don't know if I know the salary cap wise, they couldn't have kept Zeke because he was on that non-guaranteed money that was pretty high. But I do agree with you that they are missing a power running game. That being said, I will state that despite that, Tony Pollard might be Luigi. Luigi's still a top 10 rusher in the NFL right now. So he is putting up big numbers.
He's lacking the strength. And he's recovering from his season-ending injury. So he's getting back to full strength, but he split time. If you're having him do that number one role, you're going to have someone else have to chime in. Rico, he's a power back, but he has an injury. Deuce Vaughn, he's lighter, he's swift, but at the same time, having that running back that can have the power and the elusiveness, they're missing that right now. And hopefully they can get that in fullback Hunter Luepke.
Well, we'll definitely have to wait and see on that. But I really don't. I'm going to try to keep this short, guys. I'm going to go ahead and take over here. Oh, Earl, who was your player of the game?
Micah Parsons.
Fair enough. Okay, that being said, let me go ahead and talk about this because this was infuriating because this game revealed something to me.
Go ahead, Cook.
Let's spit it out.
So, and you can soundbite this. I believe the Commanders' coaching staff, not just Ron Rivera, not just Eric Bieniemy, have ruined the prospects of Sam Howell being a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Couldn't agree more.
Sam Howell isn't him?
He's not him. He can't be him. They ruined him. They ruined him. And let me explain, Chris, what happened here. So we know that Sam Howell was putting up big numbers. And I'm going to get to the game in a second here, guys, I promise. But let me just get this rant out of the way. Sam Howell was putting up good numbers. I think we all agreed pretty early on in the season that he could be the guy.
He was throwing the ball 60 times a game.
Huh?
He was throwing the ball 60 times a game.
Yeah, it was too much for a young player. That's too much for almost any player not named Patrick Mahomes. And Eric Bieniemy,
can't win that.
You can't do that to most players, okay? Most quarterbacks are not throwing that much. And you know what it did to him? It put him in unnecessary harm's way because the offensive line is horrendous. It made him speed up his internal clock to the point now where he's rushing things and pushing things because he's afraid of getting hit. And honestly, I don't blame him. I'm honestly surprised he did not get injured. I'm glad that he didn't because nobody deserves to get injured, especially when it's like the offensive line's fault. But seriously, Eric Bieniemy hadn't done anything positive for him. And granted, and here's the thing, guys. Before he got injured, Brian Robinson was a top 15 running back. You could have relied on him to run the offense. You could have leaned on him more to run the ball because you weren't running the ball that much. Brian Robinson is a workhorse. You could have done that, and it would have saved Sam Howell's confidence because he does have all the tools. But I think at least this season, he's ruined. Like, you can't play him anymore because he's internalized all these fears and doubts and how they're making him play, and it's not working for him. And I think it's thrown off his chemistry with the receivers because as you saw the season go on, and Earl, you know this, guess which wide receiver he seems to favor the most now?
Dotson?
De'Ami Brown, his college roommate. Now,
De'Ami.
That is just an eye test. I don't have the stats in front of me here, but like he's relying on De'Ami Brown, who is our fourth option as our deep threat.
So he's not touching McLaurin or Dotson?
Not nearly as much as he should be. He's relying on the tight ends and De'Ami and Curtis Samuel's a great number 3. I'm not arguing that. But, like, those two are your speedsters. Those are the guys you should be hitting on deep routes. And he's not doing that. And I think that's partially Bieniemy. Because I
honestly believe that Sam Howell, his courage broke after maybe around the Dallas game. And
it might have, yeah.
He just hasn't recovered from that.
And it's hard to recover after that. I mean, at least during the season. Now, am I saying Sam Howell's never going to be a good quarterback? No. I think that maybe in the right situation, he could be a starter or like a veteran, like journeyman type thing. But I think any potential of Sam Howell being great is really diminished, and I blame the coaching staff on that. That being said, let me get to the reason why I'm saying that now, because of this game. So the Commanders lost 28-30, but it wasn't because Sam Howell brought it close. Actually, he got benched in the third. We won with Jacoby Brissett. Sam Howell went. Here's the stats, guys. He went 6 of 22, 56 yards. That's an average of 2.5 yards a pass, 1 sack, 2 interceptions, a QBR of 1.7. Versus Jacoby, after Jacoby came in, he went 10 of 13, 100 yards, 1 touchdown, and they scored on every drive that Jacoby had except for the no, we didn't even get an end of the game drive, did we? No. So every drive that Jacoby had, they scored a touchdown, either him or Chris Rodriguez or Antonio Gibson, I think actually scored one too. Shout out to Antonio. Yeah, the Commanders were down like 27-7 before Jacoby came in. So the team, I think, has talent. I don't think we say that they don't. They have talent, skill position players. And the defense, once, after halftime, like they really locked in. And I don't know if that's more, Ron Rivera or just getting a quarterback that maybe they believe in. I don't know. Or a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over. But the end of the game here, guys, is that, and Sam Howell, like Tommy DeVito, will be riding the bench next week because Jacoby Brissett was also announced the starter against the 49ers, which I don't know if you guys remember, but I actually said I hope Jacoby was the starter. Does anybody remember why?
No,
Veteran presence.
No, because I didn't want Sam Howell to get hurt by getting sacked as many times as I thought he would be.
So,
yeah.
So
Gotcha.
you want Sam Howell to be a quarterback next season, correct?
No. I didn't say that. And I guess I'll answer this question here. We have the 3rd overall pick right now, if the draft ended today. Now, I read on ESPN Plus that the Commanders are looking at Caleb Williams, local guy. I am hesitant about local guys because, as you guys know, we recently drafted a quarterback in the 1st round as a local guy. And now, may he rest in peace, but Dwayne Haskins was certainly not the answer here. And I'm afraid of bringing in another local guy because fear of same things. And so with that in mind, I still say, and might be a hot take here, and you can soundbite this, but I believe, and I know we'll get into more draft stuff later, but I believe Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in this draft, and I want the Commanders to draft him regardless of what pick they have in the top 3.
Okay, so you're ready to move on from Sam Howell. I will stand on the hill that if you get a better offensive line, you get one more offensive weapon, I do think Sam Howell can be a productive top 15 quarterback in the league. Top 15,
I don't know.
20?
See, that's the thing, though. Like, he'll have another offensive coordinator because let's be real, Eric Bieniemy's not coming back. Like, I don't see him coming back. So Sam Howell would have 3 offensive coordinators in 3 seasons. Does that usually work out well for young quarterbacks?
No.
Okay, so just bring in a new guy, get a new offensive coordinator, reset the clock. You have a young quarterback now. Why not? And Chris, what were you going to say?
It hasn't worked out so far for Daniel Jones.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's messed up.
My point exact. That's a prime example. Thank you. Yes. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying you don't bring back Hal. Bring him back in as a veteran. If things don't go right with the rookie, or he gets injured, then you can
fight for the job.
Yeah. Have an open competition because who knows? Maybe Sam Howell comes back and he plays better, and then you have a trade asset in a top 5 pick, right? So why not, right? And you still have enough draft picks to refortify the offensive line and get secondary help.
What if he is him and he comes back and the rookie can't beat him out and he is the guy?
Well, then that's going to make an interesting thing that I'll have to deal with when that happens. But until then, that's how I feel.
Lucas, I have a question for you.
Sure.
If if you guys don't get a quarterback and you decide to go lineman or get a weapon, do you think they would go receiver or tight end?
I would hope that if we go weapon and not offensive lineman, that we have a top 2 pick and we go for Marvin Harrison Jr.
Would you be okay with Brock Bowers?
No, because I don't think Logan Thomas is bad as a tight end, and I think our tight end depth is actually not terrible. I think it's actually underutilized, if anything. But I mean, will I be upset? I think that you could have gotten a comparable tight end. Like, tight ends don't usually make an impact on year 1. So I'm not like huge on that. Also, we're still missing Armani Rogers, right? So we're still waiting on him to come back from his injury. So
I'll say this.
Yeah.
You say that you would want Harrison. Now, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is pretty much a can't miss talent.
Exactly. He's a can't miss.
But here's the thing. You guys have really a top 10 receiver in McLaurin. He's been underutilized this whole season.
I don't disagree. I don't.
So what do you think is going to happen if they get Harrison?
Then you bring Jaha as your third option. Terry and Harrison will fight for first option.
Then you
have an elite
Curtis
wide
Samuel.
receiver core.
Why wouldn't you get rid of Terry?
Why wouldn't would I want to get rid of Terry?
The picks. Flip him for a corner.
I mean, you could, but I'm okay with keeping him too. You can never have too many wide receivers, right?
Yeah, but you also need DBs.
No, I don't disagree. I'm just saying, like,
and he's an older player. Do you really want to sit on that contract? I'm just thinking
he's still under 30.
Yeah, I'm just thinking from the new general manager standpoint as far as like revamping a roster.
I mean, that's the whole thing. We have to wait and see like what's going on here with the general manager and the new head coach. Like, who's going to be the new head coach? Who's going to be the new GM? What move? How do they want to take this organization? Like, what are we looking at? Because by the way, I just want to point out here, unless a miracle happens and Terry McLaurin has 2 weeks of 200 yards each, it's very unlikely he's going to miss. He's going to miss being a 1,000-yard receiver for the first time in his career.
Yeah, he's been really underutilized this season.
He really has, and that's my other big thing with Sam Howell. He does not have chemistry with our best wide receiver. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Jacoby does. In the first game that he replaced him in, he hit him for 2 long balls, including a touchdown. So, like, another one was a near touchdown. So, like, my thing is, like, clearly Terry hasn't lost a step. So the issue is Sam Howell, right? And it's not like Sam Howell can't hit deep balls. We know that he has the arm talent for it. He doesn't have the protection for it. That's part of the issue. But also, he doesn't have the chemistry with Terry McLaurin. And you need to have a guy that can do that. Whether Sam can develop it this offseason. And, I mean, he had a whole entire offseason to try to develop it this past year, and he didn't have it. Now, Terry's still the leading wide receiver, but he only has 680 some odd yards, I think. So that's my biggest thing. So let me just go through the game real quick here because I'm taking up too much time. So, the things that went bad was the quarterback play by Sam Howell, defense in the first half, defense buckled down in the second half. That's the good. Also, Chris Rodriguez, man, he's not the flashiest or the fastest guy, but he's a hard runner. He really impressed me in this game. I was very happy to see him put up some numbers. So yeah, that's. Oh, and Cody Barden got a pick. No, he didn't get a pick 6, but he got a pretty long. He got a interception for like 50 some odd yards. Good for Cody. Even though I still don't want him back next year, but yeah, that's my thoughts there. Before we move on, Chris, did you want to talk about anything else before we move on from the games and get to around between the lines?
Well, I still think Jalen Hurts is a $60 million problem.
Oh my gosh,
that will continue. In my opinion.
He's never gonna let that go.
Nope.
No,
When you go through pass progression and read a pre-snap reads, then we can have that conversation. But that won't be in 2023. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that will help the Commanders moving forward is just being able to figure out how do you want to build out this roster. Do you want to retain Sam Howell and build a team before bringing in a quarterback and then wait a couple of years, or do you want to and can you build with Sam Howell? And if it doesn't work, then you can always pivot. Or do you want to get a quarterback and then go the opposite way?
It's not
But,
like you invested a lot in Sam Howell. You can move on.
yeah, absolutely.
Look, like I've already stated my opinion. I think we get a quarterback with the top pick. We do not trade up for one, but if the right one falls to us, which I think Daniels is the right one, then you take him.
From a team standpoint, Lucas, how many holes would you say as a team you have, like the Commanders as a whole?
Offensive line in the whole entire secondary.
I think offensive line should be your number one priority. If you want to bring in a quarterback that is going to be successful early on, and I did the same thing for the Giants as well. Offensive line is so important.
Yeah.
Lucas, I think y'all should go line for the first pick. If you don't get a quarterback, go offensive line.
I agree. I would say quarterback, offensive line, and then if you don't, then get one of the top skill guys, because why not, right?
Imagine trading back a few slots and still getting an offensive lineman, getting Olu or Joe Alt.
I'm open to it if Daniels goes before we have a chance to pick. By the way, I think there's a scenario if we lose and the Cardinals win, we can get the second overall pick.
Well, I think you can only go up to 2 because the Panthers stink. So
yeah,
you can only go up one slot, and that will project you to have Harrison. Like I said, I don't think that's the biggest need with the number 2 pick.
No. I think you would go either quarterback or offensive lineman. I think you would have to skip.
You could sell.
Or you could sell.
Pick.
I mean, I think the Chicago Bears are in the sell mode too, because they outside of the number 1.
They could trade. They could trade their quarterback.
They could, or they could build around him.
I have a feeling they're going to sell Fields. I don't see him coming back.
Would you want him as a Giants quarterback?
Ooh.
Nope.
You and Mal at least agree on that. Because I suggested a trade for him for you guys, and Mal was just like, Lucas, stop.
He can't read defenses either.
Lucas, real quick.
He's a slow process.
If Washington decided to get rid of Terry McLaurin, would y'all make a trade to either the Jets or Chicago for him?
Depends on what we get back.
True.
What do we get back?
I don't know.
I'm not outside of trading him to the Cowboys or anybody in division. I don't want to trade him to, but anybody outside of the division, it's fair game.
I don't want Terry McLaurin anyway.
I got one more question for Chris. Because I noticed him in this game, the last game against the Eagles. Kayvon Thibodeau, he's had a really disappointing season, and in my eyes,
disappointing season or very good season?
He just didn't have an impactful game against you guys, but he's had a great season. He has like 11.5 sacks, dude.
That is good.
He's top 5 in sacks in the league.
Yeah, he's like top 10 in sacks, dude. Yeah. No, I do the stats for our website. I have to keep up with this stuff. Yeah, he's like second in the division in sacks behind Micah Parsons.
Okay, in the division. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Now I will say this. What is his name? Reddick. Reddick is right behind him.
Reddick?
Yeah, he's right behind him, but technically Kayvon's still second. So yeah.
Okay, my question still stands. If you got the right offer, would you trade Thibodeau?
No.
Nah, you got to keep him.
He's a cornerstone piece of this team. You don't trade him, and he's young. He's cheap too.
I would have said the same thing about the Commanders, but they traded half their D-line.
Dude, don't get me started on that. That was so...
I mean, Kayvon alone last year won us that Commanders game.
By the way, I just want to note here, going back to the Commanders thing real quick, since leaving, like, Montez Sweat has jumped up the sacks board, and he's right behind Micah Parsons now in total sacks on the season. Like literally, like he's right below him on the stats. That's
How many he has?
I think he has like 12 and a half.
I'm not
He had like maybe 7 when he left us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Different system, different scheme.
He's happy to be out of Washington, which sucks. But I mean, look, with the current coaching regime, and here's the thing. By the way, I don't know if you guys remember this, but like this, Jack Del Rio should have been fired last offseason, not this past one, but the one before that. Because I don't know if you guys remember, but he made some really racially insensitive remarks, and I'm surprised they didn't fire him right then and there. Now, I can't remember exactly the nature of them, but I remember he had to go on to a press conference and apologize for them. And, like, if that's the type of culture that, you know, Ron Rivera is keeping around, like, that's not good. Anyway, so it's about that time, Earl.
Between the lines.
Yep, between the lines.
Alrighty. 2, 4, and 8 minutes is not enough. All right, I'm going to start off with my slate of games. And I'm going to start off with the Buffalo Bills against the Los Angeles Chargers. The score for that game was 24-22. That was actually a really good game. The Bills really needed this win, and they need to win out to continue to be in the playoff hunt. The next game I have is the Cincinnati Bengals against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh beat the bricks off of the Bengals 34-11. Their player of the game for that was George Pickens. He had 4 receptions for 195 yards and 2 touchdowns. The next game I have was the Raiders and Chiefs on Christmas. And the Raiders decided to deliver a present of a big L to the Kansas City Chiefs. And that score was 20-14. I'm not sure what's going on with the Chiefs, but yeah, it's not their season right now. And the last game that I have, well, I have 2 more after that. The next game I have was the Packers and Panthers. That was a Sunday game, and the Packers won 33-30. And then the last game of Monday night was the Ravens and 49ers, where I saw that the Ravens completely dominated the 49ers 33-19. Brock Purdy had 4 interceptions this game. And Lamar Jackson, he had 252 yards passing and 2 pass TDs and 1 rushing TD. Lucas, can you go with your slate of games?
Before Lucas goes, this is the second time now I've bigged up the San Francisco 49ers. And both times they had a bad loss. I don't know what it is, but with that said, though, last week we had a conversation about MVP. Is Lamar Jackson number 1 now?
No.
He's not?
In my opinion, it's Christian McCaffrey or Tyreek Hill. I don't look. The MVP is not just a quarterback, quarterback award. It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, but it is though.
But I'm keeping the purity of the sanctity of the award. So with that in mind, I got to give it to one of those 2 skilled players before I give it to Lamar.
I agree. It just depends on whoever continue to keep stacking wins, and if Lamar Jackson continues to stack wins these next 2 games, no doubt in my mind he'll get the MVP. And same could go for Christian McCaffrey on what he's done. His all-purpose yards this season is insane.
He's going to break 2,000 purpose yard. 20,000 purpose yards. Yeah.
Yeah, and then right around that, you got Tyreek Hill because I mean he's a worthy asset to Miami. And
I mean he's going to
McCaffrey.
He's going to get at least 1,800, maybe 1,900. I don't think he'll get 2,000 though, but still pretty impressive considering that he got injured. That being said, let's get back to the drill here, and I'm going to talk next about the Patriots upsetting the Denver Broncos 26-23. And as a result of this, now the Broncos are planning to bench Russell Wilson, and it's apparently due to salary cap stuff, not so much of his performance. I mean, maybe a little bit, but it's mainly to make sure that he can pass his physical so that he doesn't get guaranteed money, which makes it interesting whether or not he's going to be on the team next year or not.
I've seen reports that they intend on cutting him.
We'll have to wait and see for sure. I haven't seen anything definitive. Or I will say in this game, your boy Ezekiel Elliott led the Patriots in rushing yards. Do you want to know how many he had?
Oh no, he did. He balled out. I watched the game.
Yeah, what do you mean balled out? He had 28 yards rushing, dude.
It's the touchdown for me.
He got one passing touchdown for 3, and he had 33 yards on 9 catches. But okay.
I'll give him his. He did his thing for what he could do. But yeah, like I said, I miss him in Dallas because he gives that power perspective that they need in the rushing game.
All right. So the next one here is the Saints versus the Rams. I think that was that a Friday night game or Saturday night game? Or Thursday? Was it Thursday? Thursday.
It was Thursday.
Yeah. Rams are red hot right now. They won 30-22. Karen Williams had 22 rushes for 104 yards, a touchdown. Poku Nakua, is that how you say his name?
Puka
Nakua. Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, he had 9 receptions for 164 yards. And I'm gonna audible here real quick and just look up his stats on the season because he has 1,327 yards on the season. That is crazy for a rookie.
Yeah, that is.
Like I'm hearing if CJ Stroud doesn't come back, Nakua might be able to get Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Which it depends on Stroud if Stroud can come back. I think that's the big thing because if Stroud comes back, I think it's Stroud's. But Nakua's pretty close, dude. He is just balling it out. Also, for the Saints, their offense, I don't think the Saints' problem is their offense. I think it's just their offensive line, and because they have all the skill position players needed, and the quarterback's not terrible. They just need a better offensive line, and they need a better defense.
Derek Carr is mid.
He is mid, but you know what? Sometimes you can do well with a mid. Anyway, I wish my quarterback was mid.
If you have an elite team like Jalen Hurts and the Eagles.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
Lucas, why don't you set him up for that?
You started with the mid.
It is what it is. It is what it is, fellas. It is what
anyway,
it is.
It is what it is.
Winning looks different on every team.
Yeah, that's true. Next game we have is the Seahawks and the Titans. Geno Smith led the Seahawks to victory 20-17. We saw Ryan Tannehill come back in this game. I think Will Levis got hurt, if I'm correct. That being said, Geno had 227 yards, 2 touchdowns. It wasn't the prettiest game. Though I will note that Derrick Henry had a pass for 12 yards and a touchdown. Kudos to him.
It was a nice play.
Yep. And last game on my docket here is the Buccaneers versus the Jaguars, where Buccaneers really just kind of dominated the Jaguars. They won 30-12. I think Trevor Lawrence went out with a concussion. Was it a concussion or an ankle sprain? I can't remember. Which one was it, guys?
He's had an
concussion.
Both. He had a concussion this week.
Okay, so it was concussion. Okay. Baker Mayfield is trying to make sure that he gets a starting job and a longer contract next year. 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, QBR of 90.4. And Mike Evans, still one of the better wide receivers, 7 receptions, 86 yards. Yeah, kudos to them. All right, Maurice, you're up, bud.
All right, the first game I got, the Cleveland Browns got the best of the Houston Texans, 36-22. Joe Flacco, he's having a really good comeback tour right now. He passed for 368 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But also, the recipient of that was Amari Cooper, Earl's guy, who should be still on that team. 11 catches for 200. 11. He had 11 catches with 265 yards. And 2
Browns are going to be dangerous.
He wasn't the problem in Dallas.
Listen, if a lot of people are playing their fantasy playoffs right now, if you had Amari Cooper, you more than likely won.
I got him in my other league. He gave me 78 points.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's
Did
the
you
score
won,
guys
right?
do.
Oh yeah, I'm in the championship.
Okay. It wasn't like that for this one, but we'll get to that.
Agreed.
The Lions clinched the NFC North for the first time ever since they realigned. Before that, it was the NFC Central. So for the first time, they've won the NFC North with a win over the Minnesota Vikings, 30-24. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery combined for 135 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Amon St. Brown had 12 catches for 106 yards and 1 touchdown. The Atlanta Falcons were victorious over the Indianapolis Colts 29-10. Lucas guy, Taylor Heineke, passed for 229 yards and 1 touchdown.
I mean, yeah.
But the real story here with the Falcons was their defense had 6 sacks and an interception, and their kicker had 5 field goals. That's really how they won this game. And the Bears got past the Cardinals 27-16. Khalil Herbert rushed for 112 yards and 1 touchdown, and Cole Kmet holding 4 catches for 107 yards. So those are the games of the week.
All righty. Maurice, how about we go to fantasy?
At fantasy, it looks like me and Earl did not make a comeback this week.
No, you guys
Nope,
did not.
not even close.
I didn't either, though. So Mal's the only one that's been winning the last couple weeks.
Well, at least mine was closer. John beat me 287-245.
Yeah.
But Earl lost to Joe 336-232.
Who would have thought Who would have thought with Joe being like such a diehard Bills fan and going for Bills players that it pay off for him?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it was a beatdown for me. I gotta next year when we do this, I gotta do better. My team this season really didn't progress like I needed them to, and I don't think I'll ever pick up Patrick Mahomes again.
Oh wow, really?
I just think Mahomes is having a bad season.
I think he's just having. Look, it's not really his fault. It's the O-line and wide receivers' fault. Like
he missed Tyreek.
He misses Tyreek.
Yeah. He needs another Tyreek.
Pressured and constantly don't have weapons. What's the excuse for those guys?
Now, that would be a team that would trade for Terry McLaurin.
I can see that. I can see that.
I could see that. If they're willing to give up like a second-round pick or something, sure.
But see, Mahomes is different than every other quarterback in the league because he's Patrick Mahomes. He's just so talented as a quarterback. People expect him to overcome, and he still has Travis Kelce, who was the best tight end in my opinion. Him or Hawkinson.
Travis Kelce, that's on his back end.
And Taylor Swift in the skybox.
Well, technically, Andy Reid said it was okay for her to come to games. So,
I don't think why would they have a problem with that. But yeah, Travis Kelce, him and Hawkinson, I think, and he had a season-ending injury.
I have both of them on my fantasy team, and Hawkinson's injury really hurt me.
Yeah, but I mean, like I was saying, Mahomes is such a talented quarterback. He's far and away the best in the league, but even him, you have to have some talent around him, and he does miss Tyreek Hill. He really does.
But you see how important it is when a quarterback is constantly pressured. They're thrown off their reads. They are quick to go through their progressions. They're not the same. That's why it's so important for defensive coordinators to dial up pressure or understand how that sweet spot of when to send pressure, when not to get the quarterback off his clock. Because if you can constantly pressure a quarterback, you win the game. It's over.
I mean, and by the way, I just want to say, despite dealing with all that, Patrick Mahomes still has the Chiefs with a winning record. Any other quarterback with this type of talent, they would be a top 5 lottery.
Well, let's have the honest conversation. Is their division really that good?
No.
Everyone hyped up the AFC West before, like, oh, they got the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Raiders. Like, His division is no different than what Brady had when he was in the AFC East.
Well, let's talk about the Raiders here for a second. Antonio Gibson, former not Antonio Gibson, sorry,
Pierce.
Antonio
Pierce.
Pierce. Sorry. Antonio Pierce, former Giant, now the interim head coach. They have gone 4-3 with him as the interim head coach. Does he deserve the chance to coach that team next year as the head coach?
Yes,
I believe so. Yeah,
I believe so too. Now the question is, will their owner actually make the right choice and allow that to happen? Because they should have done that with the interim coach last year. What was his name?
For the Raiders?
Yeah. The guy that took over after halfway through last year. What was his name?
I don't know.
Was it Bisaccia?
Yeah, Patachia. Yeah. They should have let him do it, but no, they didn't. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I think even going outside of the record, the players really play hard for him.
Yeah.
And that means something.
Yeah, you want to have a guy that can galvanize the players. Because I didn't think that they were going to be like world beaters, but they're doing this with a guy who's, let's be real, Aiden McConnell or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
He's a third string quarterback, and they're doing that with him. And look, I think Pierce deserves a chance. If not in Las Vegas, hey, I'd be open for him coming to Washington. Why not? Right?
I really don't think Pierce is the guy. If he doesn't get that job, I got some questions.
Agreed.
I mean, look, they hired John Gruden, who we all know what happened there.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier. Former Commanders owner, Dan Snyder, he had a business partner who is now suing Bank of America and other people involved in the purchase of the Commanders.
Dang, that's unfortunate.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know too many details. It was an alert that popped up on my phone in the beginning of the podcast while you guys were talking about the Giants and stuff, and I just forgot about it until now.
Yeah. We're going back to the fantasy real quick. You got anything to say, Lucas, about your L to Mal?
I mean, I know I'm not going to lose to Wes.
Jeez.
I'm sorry. Look, the thing is, my team really dropped off at the end of the year, and I'm going to blame that partially on Sam Howell because, I had him as my starting quarterback until last 2 or 3 games. So
who were your other quarterbacks?
Jared Goff, and to be fair, Howell was outperforming Jared Goff fantasy wise for most of the season.
He was.
So you can't really blame me on that. And also, Brian Robinson went down with the injury, which didn't help either. And now I lost Hawkinson, who was arguably the second best fantasy tight end in fantasy football. So, yeah, no. So I really got screwed there, guys. Not gonna lie. Just got to do better. Maybe I'll just make a rule that I only draft one player from the Commanders next year, so I don't feel obligated to play them as because they're
just gotta do your research and.
I mean, I don't think anybody expected Sam Howell to bust as hard as he did, though. Because I was in the playoff hunt until literally 2 games before the end of the fantasy season, regular season.
I would have made the switch to golf.
I mean, I probably should have done it 2 or 3 games before I did, and that's
took me a couple weeks to go from whoever I had. Who did I have as quarterback to go to Dak?
Yeah, you had didn't you have Trevor Lawrence?
I think I did have Trevor Lawrence.
You had Joe Burrow too.
Oh yeah, you had.
Yeah, I had Joe Burrow. Yeah.
And that's it's a hard thing because you trust your guy. Maybe he just had a bad week or two, but eventually you got to give up on him. And like I said, it's hard to give up on a guy, especially when he's your guy. So.
And especially when he's just a talented quarterback. If I had Mahomes, I would probably start Mahomes every week. Yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly.
But he didn't have a great week to week.
Earl, didn't you draft Mahomes with your 3rd or 4th pick?
Yes, he did.
I think he was my first pick.
Was he your first pick?
He was the first round pick. I think
he was my first pick.
You gotta go skill position before you get a quarterback.
Oh yeah, I know. I did the same thing in my other league, and I'm back in the championship. So it's just different things to just interchange out in fantasy football. I really enjoyed this season though with y'all.
Yeah, it was definitely fun.
Yeah, Chris, are you into fantasy football?
Yes, I am.
I guess we know who we're gonna have
Yeah.
on in the league next year, at least, right?
I
we do.
play 2 leagues. I'll consider. You guys do PPR or
No.
We should. I was a
Regular.
proponent of PPR.
You also are a proponent of Yahoo.
I like Yahoo. I mean,
Oh
And
no!
no, Yahoo's terrible, dude. I'm sorry. Like I like playing
I
in
agree.
your fantasy basketball league because I'm
Yeah.
tearing it up right now. But like,
Everybody's a critic.
yeah. All right, just to close off the fantasy, John and Joe are in the finals. This is gonna be really competitive, and they have.
I think Joe's gonna win it. I think Joe's gonna win.
Yeah,
it.
I think he's gonna win it.
Well, I'm gonna root for my guy John, so we gonna see.
Buffalo chicken wings. Bring it home.
All right.
Oh,
so
hang on. Before we finish up with fantasy, Maurice,
what's
tell
the total pot for your guys' league?
we don't do money or anything.
Bragging rights.
yeah, it's just
Yeah,
bad.
bragging rights.
Okay. All right.
But Maurice, I want you to go through the names and we won't tell him Mouse because obviously he'll go for Mouse, but tell him every other name and see which one he likes most. Because we can't do Mouse because he's gonna choose Mouse. Mouse is day balls to the wall, like Dable.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then okay, go ahead, Maurice. Tell him the other ones.
I see where you're going here, Lucas. Washington Red Wolves.
Yeah,
Green Veins. Yeah, Green Veins.
that must be West. Or no, that's you. That's you, isn't it?
No, that's not me. It's West.
Okay, it is West. Okay.
Hotel Odell Holiday Inn. Buffalo Chicken Wing.
Holiday Inn.
Yeah, that's a good name. That's a good name.
That was Mal's boyfriend's team.
Okay.
Buffalo Chicken Wings.
Okay.
Last DC4L. Or what is that? Last DC for Life?
No, it's
Dallas
LST.
Cowboys for life.
That's my
That's
late great uncle's initials.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. The Stars. And the last one,
Right.
Herslahoma.
Wait, what?
Hersaloma. Hersaloma.
That's Maurice's friend's one.
Yeah, that's John.
So
Hersalahoma.
which one do you like the most outside of Mal's?
Either the last one or Odell's.
I figured you would go for Odell's. That's right.
Hotel
All right.
Odell Holiday Inn.
All right, Maurice. Let's preview this. Let's preview next week.
All right, so the Week 16 matchup says Lions versus Cowboys. I think this is a must-win for you guys, or what you think?
I think it is, and it's going to be the hardest matchup because they're a physical running team.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's why the Rashawn Evans releasing was just a big question mark for me. Just real quick with this, I'm kind of off the roller coaster of the regular season, but I definitely looking in this game to see how well they'll be prepared going into the postseason.
Because you guys might face them in the first round. Who knows?
Yeah.
Possibly. Right now, it's slated. If the playoffs started now, we would be going to Tampa.
That's the easiest matchup.
That might be. Yo,
Yeah.
but watch Baker do something.
Tampa's playing good football though.
Tampa is playing good football, and
Cowboys
what?
should
I'm
win
not
that
going to
game.
count out Baker.
Wow, we've come to this, Lucas. You're not counting out Baker Mayfield?
I mean, Baker's been proving us all wrong this season. What has he had? Maybe one or two bad games?
He's had a renaissance season, I'll say that, but
I actually didn't have
and if it's-
expectation for Baker this season.
I don't think anybody had expectation for Baker.
yeah.
Yeah, I think he's he's going to get a job next year, either as like a really high-end backup or a starter for a team that needs a fill-in starter.
Oh, he's a free agent.
Yeah, he only signed a 1-year deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I think he just decided to show out. Now, it'll be interesting to see how much he preps for it, like once he gets the money, if he gets like a long-term deal, like how he handles that afterwards. But when back to the wall, he will definitely play out. So anyway.
Yeah, with that said, if the Cowboys go to Tampa Bay and lose, that's a very disappointing season. Would you agree?
Earl's going to be cussing everybody out.
Yeah.
Well,
that's an easy matchup.
Not on the
for Cowboys.
podcast, because we don't curse on the podcast.
We keep it very user friendly.
All right. So Rams versus Giants. Does Tyrod Taylor give you guys a chance? Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be competitive. I don't see us winning, unfortunately. Um, Matthew Stafford would probably be one of the better quarterbacks we faced all year. Their offense is very explosive with with Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakau. They have a very good run game there as well. I don't see. I see probably 7 to 10 points of a difference in a game, and yeah, I just don't see us being able to compete, unfortunately, from an offensive standpoint.
They're just hot right now, and it was crazy because at the beginning of the season, people were like, "Oh, they should trade Stafford for picks." Now they're a dark horse.
I don't think that would have been the case.
I was hearing rumblings, dude. But okay.
Yeah,
I don't think they would have done it. I'm just saying I think that was the sentiment among some fans.
All right.
That being...
Go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead, Maurice. You're good.
49ers versus Commanders.
Oh, we losing.
Beat down.
Yeah, the 49ers had a bad loss. They're going to go to Washington, and hopefully the Commanders
Hail to the process. Hail
Chase
to the
Young
process.
is going to get 3 sacks on y'all.
Oh, yeah, that's a comeback. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Chase Young this is definitely going to be a revenge game for him.
Probably the fourth fumble, too.
Returns to Washington.
Huh?
Trent Williams returns to Washington.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He hasn't come back to D.C. yet, has he? No, but he might be injured. We don't know if he's going to play.
He's going to pancake somebody.
Trent Williams, I really hated how our organization handled that. I'm just going to say this. Hail to the process. I hope Jacoby plays well so that he can get a good contract. But I really don't see us winning. And I'm okay. Like I said, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't want us to win another game.
You want a quarterback.
I want a quarterback. I want a quarterback, a guy that I can believe in. And Daniels, I've said it before, I'll say it again, reminds me of RG3. Just hopefully he can slide.
Slide. Slide. Slide.
All right, and finally, the Cardinals come to Philly. Jonathan Gannon, head coach now, the Cardinals comes back to Philly.
Homecoming.
He's going to get booed out the building, out the stadium. But the way he handled that Super Bowl week. But anyway, the Eagles should win this game. I expect a W.
He was the defensive coordinator, right?
Yeah, he was our defensive coordinator.
Are you concerned with that Arizona run game?
No. I'm really speaking of run, I'm more concerned with Kyler Murray running.
Yeah.
That's
their defensive line isn't the issue. Their issue on defense is their secondary.
Their secondary is really bad.
Yeah, your guys' secondary.
Arizona's pretty good at running the football.
Yeah, no. I think they can stop the run at a point of attack. I think the biggest issue Eagles defense will have is if Kyler Murray gets hot passing the ball. That's another team. Do you think they give up on Kyler Murray, or do you think they go full season with him?
Nah. Remember, Kyler Murray came back he came back during the season, so
yeah,
you gotta give him another season. But Kyler Murray's good. I mean, he just
gotta stop playing them video games. Study that film tape.
Yeah, you get off that Call of Duty. But I mean, he can definitely get out the pocket and run. And that's dangerous because our linebackers are not as fast and athletic as I would want them to be.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was one that y'all definitely would need the.
Well, didn't you guys Shaquille
good
Leonard
in this game?
Shaq Leonard?
Didn't he get your lone sack last week? So
he did. That was his first sack in 3 years.
There you go. So you guys got a little bit of an upgrade. not a big one, but little.
I mean, they have a better linebacker core right now compared to Dallas.
They have a better linebacker core versus us.
Well, let's just keep Kyler Murray in the pocket, and we should come out of here we should have a W.
My squad turning safeties into linebackers. Wild.
Yeah, that's wild.
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead. Maurice, how about you play us out, bud?
All right, I want to thank everyone out there for listening to the 13 Rings podcast. We appreciate all you guys listens and downloads for sure. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify. Make sure to follow us on Twitter or X, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at 13_rings podcast. And we're now on Apple Podcasts at 13 Rings. I want to thank everyone for listening. Until next time, have a good one.